Greetings, listeners. You're listening to colourfulradio.com online and on DAB, and a very warm welcome from me, Kenneth Tharp. I'm here to tell you about the forthcoming African concert series and also welcome a very special guest.
Enough, our course is understated and underrepresented, and theirs is overstated. So sooner or later, the balance was going to have to come, because we've had none of our stories told. Suddenly you find there's a whole universe you've been missing. And it's not just here, it's classical musics from around the world. International classical musics. Until you open that door, you're going to have this narrow perspective, like the whole world is us, and it's this perspective.
Almost inhabiting these two parallel worlds of the classical cello and the kora. Did you feel, there's a number of questions I could ask. One, did you feel any sense of conflict created by these different traditions? And also, was it, and this maybe brings us to the present as well, do you feel that, is it a kind of schizophrenia where you switch between completely different worlds, or do you feel that somehow they are so embodied in you that that's no longer an issue?
When I was studying the kora, I was completely inside that tradition, in that world, in that universe. Then when I was in the Western classical tradition, I was completely in that universe. And then obviously, sometimes I would come to the Africa Centre as a child to perform with people like African Dawn very early. That's the first place I actually performed the kora, funnily enough. And so at night I'd perform, say, at Africa Centre with African Dawn and Last Poets and a lot of these radical, groups from the African Black musical world. And then the next morning I'd be doing, Baroque music, at school. Certainly for our generation, I think it's funny because in a way one was punished for celebrating what one's own cultural heritage. And now in this era, all we get called for is what we do with our cultural inheritance. This is what makes it complex. Like in Nigeria, there's a school of art music in terms of Ayabankole, all of the composers we're talking about, Akinyuba, Professor Ninketi, etc., etc. The list goes on, there's lots of them. But then when you look at somewhere, say like Gambia, Mali, Senegal, you've got a very different situation, because there they have their own tradition, which goes back to the same period, actually goes back pre-Western classical music, to the 13th century.
So on your website.